Hello, I'm Jonathan Thomas.
And I'm Gail Mwamba.
And this is Business Premiere. Now, Business Premiere is a weekly magazine show that covers all aspects of business that affects Africa.
From economics to financial markets to deal making and interviews with the movers and shakers of business in Africa.
Business Premiere will give you an accurate and authentic insight into business in Africa. So how did African equity markets perform during 2012? Well, as you can see, most of them were well into positive territory on the year. And what were some of the factors behind this increase in returns? Well, a lot of it had to do with an increase in global risk appetite, particularly after ECB President Mario Draghi said that he would do all that he could in order to save the euro. So how have the key African equity markets performed in Q1? Well, this chart shows that some of the returns have been very healthy indeed, especially in Ghana at 44% and Uganda at 27%. Now, to some extent, these rises have been part of the broader increase in global equity markets over the quarter. But given that this seems to be coming to an end in places such as the US, where valuations looked a little out of kilter when set against economic fundamentals, it's reassuring to see that many African markets still have plenty of headroom for further growth, as well as the economic momentum to match. The first thing I'd like to ask you, Obi, is the current sustainability of African sort of growth rates. What's your view on the outlook?
I would think that it still does remain sustainable because a lot of the policy gains that led to the growth in the first place remain. And so macroeconomic stability is something that's become almost traditional across the countries on the continent, and that's important for growth.
Capital markets do have a role to play, but I think it's important to stress that much of the growth in Africa, much of the funding of Africa is not being provided by the capital markets. Capital markets still represent a very small part of our GDP in terms of market capitalization of the stock market, for example. To GDP, it's still extremely low.
Jean-Jacques Bouillat, le délégué général aux grands travaux, nous propose de le suivre dans sa tournée qu'il effectue à travers le pays pour se rendre compte de l'avancée des travaux. Nous commençons par visiter l'un des projets les plus ambitieux de cette série de grands travaux, la route nationale numéro 1, qui doit relier Brazzaville à Pointe-Noire, la capitale économique du pays.
Donc, il s'agit là d'un vaste programme d'aménagement du territoire et nous tenons donc à faire en sorte que ce pays devienne véritablement un pays carrefour où on peut circuler du nord au sud, où que les voisins peuvent aller aussi du nord au sud et que le reste de l'Afrique puisse trouver par ici un véritable point de passage.
One of the attractive things about Zambia is the fact that it's got 8 neighbors, which makes it attractive for interregional trade. Are there any initiatives that you're working on to encourage interregional trade and to encourage trade with other countries?
The thing which makes Zambia to be attractive, when you work extremely hard, you produce your profit, we don't hinder your export of your profits. Now that's why a number of people are coming to Zambia.
Hello, I'm Pamela Bonki and this is Look Ahead Business Premier Africa, updating you on what is happening in the world of business on the continent. On Monday, the South African Chamber of Mines held its annual meeting in Johannesburg, while the Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan gave a speech to Cape Town on South Africa's wider African role and responsibilities. On Tuesday, the Kenyan Central Bank met to set the latest interest rates, and the Cairo Chamber of Commerce discussed trade promotion in the post-Mubarak era. On Wednesday, experts from African finance ministries gathered in Abidjan to prepare for the forthcoming African finance ministers' meetings. Kenya's Finance Minister Njera Githe travelled to Kampala on Thursday and met with his Ugandan counterpart Maria Kiwanuk. On Friday, the Gambian Central Bank set the country's interest rates. Saturday saw Togo hold its parliamentary elections. They were originally scheduled for October, but were postponed because of demonstrations demanding electoral reform. And finally, on Sunday, South Sudan's scheduled oil exports was resumed. Well, that's all from Look Ahead TV Business Premier Africa. Thank you for watching.